Here we are, the last 2 chapters of Planet Omar. Let's see how it ends. When everything had settled down that evening, Charlie's mum rang my mum and asked if she could bring Charlie over to see me because he was a panicky mess and wanted to make sure that I was okay with his own eyes. So Charlie came over and we ate biscuits and we drank chocolate milk, and I told him all about the zombie thing and about Daniel peeing himself, and then after we finished almost peeing ourselves with laughter, I sat up straight and told Charlie that I felt bad for laughing because, well, Daniel wasn't too bad at all, now that I got to know him a little bit. Okay, said Charlie, but he didn't seem too sure. So I said, "You'll see, Scout's honour," and saluted at him. I don't know what that looks like. I wasn't a scout, and Charlie just burst out laughing again, but I think he believed me. A couple of days later, my parents invited Daniel and his family over to our house for iftar, and they all wanted to discuss every detail of that crazy day of being lost on the underground. Mr. and Mrs. Green seemed nice. I remembered what Daniel had said about feeling like he was just in the way at home. But they were paying him lots of attention now. His dad kept ruffling his hair and his mum kept touching his shoulder like she wanted to check that he was still there. I had a feeling that that was why they'd left his sister Susie with his aunt for this visit, so that Daniel could be their star. They told Mum and Dad that they were very grateful to the mosque for helping us. And then Daniel told my parents all about how I asked Allah for help, and it was only after that we were saved, so it must have been Allah that did it. Of course, I'd already told them my version of the story, but they were extra proud to hear it from them. Daniel's parents wanted to go to the mosque to thank them again personally, so we had the idea that they should come with us on Eid Day and do it then. Everything was looking really good. I could hardly believe that in just a few days, Daniel had gone from being the person I liked least of all to being my friend. He was trying to be Charlie's friend too, which was a bit harder because they're so different. But I had been an accidental magnet and drawn them together, and I was completely sure that they would get on. Charlie and I even asked Daniel to play football with us in the playground because we realised that nobody had ever asked him before. And it turned out that he was better than anyone in the whole class at being in goal. There was still one thing that was bothering me, so I just blurted it out. "Will the Asians be kicked out of the country?" And the area in the room suddenly got very thick, like we were on a different planet with less oxygen or something. Everyone looked very awkward, and since Mariam always giggles in awkward situations, she put her hands over her mouth, but I could see her shoulders shaking, and so could Issa, because he pointed at her with his cheeky grin. "Where did you get an idea like that?" said Dad. And I suddenly realised that I'd got it from Daniel, but Daniel would be in trouble if I said anything. I looked at him really quickly and looked away, and then I said, I heard it somewhere, and I even asked Reza, and he said that we'll have to go and live in Pakistan. Dad laughed, but Mum nudged him because she could see that I was serious, and then she smiled politely at the Greens, who looked really uncomfortable. Daniel was colour matching his skin with the tomatoes on the plate. I wondered if he could feel it when he went red. Dad explained that this was never going to happen, and kids make things up all the time. He said that I should always talk to an adult to get the facts straight when I hear something like that. And then Daniel blurted out, "Okay, it was me, and I'm sorry, Omar." Everyone's heads turned to Daniel really fast. Daniel's head hung towards the floor. "Well, I heard my cousin Brian saying it, so I just said it to Omar to make him feel bad because I didn't think he'd want to be my friend, but I'm sorry now anyway." Mrs. Green's face was doing the colour matching thing with the tomatoes now, and Mr. Green was saying, "Oh, Daniel, and he was burying his face in his hands. And then Mrs. Green was saying, I am so sorry. And Daniel was saying, I'm so sorry. And Dad was saying, hey, it's okay. Kids will be kids. And Mum was looking from one person's face to another. And then suddenly they all went quiet and looked at me. Omar, I am very proud that you're Daniel's friend, and I wouldn't want you going anywhere, Mr. Green said. Phew, I thought, and now everything is okay. I imagined H2O peeking in through the window. He was tiny now because I didn't need a huge dragon to make me feel better anymore. He winked at me and waved his tail before flying off into the cloud. Chapter 23. It was one of the best days in the year, Eid, and we were going to spend this one with Mrs. Rogers and the Greens. The night before, I stood at my window trying to spot the moon, really hoping that it would be Eid. So the moon tells us when Ramadan is over because it's a new month in the Islamic calendar. If the new moon can't be seen, it's basically not Eid for another day. And when that happens, it's so annoying. The mosque is always very busy on Eid day. Even people who don't normally go to the mosque to pray go on Eid day, so it's absolutely packed. We sat on the carpet, waiting for the prayers to start and watching the people pour in. I like how every single person is different. Different shapes, different sizes, even adults. Like fully grown adults can be quite tall or quite short. And you can really get really tall, thin ones who remind me of the BFG. And short, large ones, and all the sizes in between. And then all the different types of faces and shades of colours. The mosque is so great because you get all types of people in one place, and you're usually sitting still for a while, so it's the perfect place to people watch. One thing I've figured out is that some people have the kind of faces that seem quite perfect. They have a straight nose and maybe good skin and nice lips, but they still don't look nice. Like I wouldn't want to be stuck in a lift with them. And they definitely don't smile a lot. And then there are other faces that might have skin that's a bit bad, and maybe their nose isn't the prettiest, or their beard grows in funny directions, but they look really nice and they smile loads. I've thought about it a lot. And I think it's all to do with what's inside people. If they're always having nice thoughts and are good and kind people, then they always look lovely, no matter what. And if they're horrid people with rotten thoughts, then they'll look horrible. Daniel had been smiling a lot more since we got lost together, and his face was definitely looking a lot nicer. While the Imam led the prayers, the Greens watched from the back. Afterwards, they said it was absolutely beautiful, like nothing they'd ever seen before. Next, we were all going to our home for an Eid feast and presents. That's the best part of Eid. We had presents for Daniel and his family too, even Susie, who had joined us this time. Daniel rode with me in Peanut, and on the way he pulled out a little wrapped gift from his jacket pocket and grinned at me. It's another Eid present, But for Charlie, it's a Batman key ring. Do you think he'll like it? Super definitely, I grinned back. The feast covered every single centimetre of our dining table, which we call the Eid table on Eid. We always put piles and piles of things on the Eid table because we have lots of friends and family to visit. Biryani, samosas, pakoras, roasted leg of lamb and chickpeas in yoghurt. But what my mouth wanted most of all were the sweet desserts, like the delicious Pakistani thing my mum makes with vermicelli and milk called saviyan, and Mariam's special chocolate brownies. Mariam might be super annoying most of the time, but she is getting really good at making brownies. I sneaked one for myself and one for Daniel before Issa licked them all like he always does. Quick, eat it before anyone else comes in, and I laughed out loud. Daniel gobbled his so fast he got bits of brownie all over his teeth. "The what?" said mumbled Daniel, still with his mouth full. "Your teeth are so brown," I snorted, and Daniel started laughing too. "Yours are too." Oh, and that's the end. And there's a page telling us that the next Planet Omar book is coming out soon. So I'll ask Monica when she does the fancy editing to post a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. And then at the back, this is the lady who wrote the story. And this is the illustrator. So this is the lady who did all the pictures. And they've worked together as a great team to produce this book. So if you liked it, then you can look out for the other ones in this series and have a lovely half term.